I want to ask you an honest question. If you had tangible evidence that your next door neighbor tomorrow night was going to have their house broken into, have all of their possessions stolen, and be killed, what would you do with that information? Tangible evidence, a written plan showing that it's going to happen. Well, if you're like most of us, whether you like your neighbor or don't, you're going to go to your neighbor with that information and say, look at this. Look what I have here that's showing that tomorrow night you are in extreme danger and you will be killed. And you go to your neighbor with this information and present it to them because they need to know it and they need to take action. And your neighbor starts to listen to you for a little while and picks apart a few things you've said and the evidence that you've been showing in detail and looks at you and says, you know what, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I don't want to believe this. This can't be happening. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? You know what, I think I'm just going to stay here. And I don't think that this is something I should be taking seriously. And you look at your neighbor and you say, yeah, but what about this? What about this evidence? What about this part? What about this part? And they go back to you and they say, yeah, but what about this little part right here? What about this little part right here that seems to contradict this part? And then you explain how that part doesn't contradict that part and that they are in danger and they need to leave their house right now. And they're like, doesn't make sense to me. Well, welcome to the world of serving the living God at the end of the age. When we understand that the world is in judgment, when we understand that the judgment of God encompasses the entire earth, and that everybody on earth will need to make a decision for the kingdom of God, or for Lucifer's kingdom, the kingdom of the earth, and that eternal death is the consequence of making the wrong decision, and that as followers of the way, Jesus Christ, that we will have to make a very difficult sacrifice at the end of this age, as I detail on my channel. To warn people about that is what we need to do. All the signs are here. Matthew 24, Jesus told us to look for the sign. And we have all of the signs that we are in the judgment of God. And as servants of the kingdom of God, by default, knowing what we know and the truth of the age and how it's actually going to play out, as detailed in the revelation of Jesus Christ, our proof, our evidence that we can take to our neighbor, which is why I did my entire series covering every word of it on this channel, the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is the evidence we have that we are in judgment, that we are in danger, and that not only are we in danger on this earth, but we're in danger of losing our eternal souls to the enemy. How could we not share this at the top of our lungs to anybody who will listen? How could we not take that evidence, the evidence of the revelation of Jesus Christ, showing how things have already played out, that it proves already that the prophecy is true, and then showing where it is leading? In the culmination of what happens to the saints in Revelation chapter 6, doubling down in Revelation chapter 7, tripling down in Revelation chapter 20, verses 4, 5, and 6. And so to know these things and not to share them, man, that's a dangerous place to be. Because God discussed this same exact concept with Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 33, where Ezekiel had information of judgment, the judgment of God that was coming. And Ezekiel knew nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to take me seriously. Nobody's going to understand what's really happening here. I don't want to do this. What purpose is this going to serve, God? What purpose, God, is this going to serve? For me to go into a city and prophesy judgment to people who won't listen. And God told him exactly what he needed to know and what we need to know right now along those lines of why we need to share the truth of the age, the truth of God's judgment, regardless of who receives it or doesn't, regardless of who we like or don't. And he said in Ezekiel 33, starting in verse 3, Ezekiel 33:3, if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blows the trumpet and warns the people, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning If the sword will come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, he heard the warning, and took not warning. His blood shall be upon him. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. Okay, so the first thing he's saying to Ezekiel is, you have to give people a chance to know the truth. And if they know the truth, it's up to them to make the decision on whether they come out of the city, come out of the judgment, or stay in it. And then it says in verse 6, but if the watchman, that's you and I, sees the sword come and blows not the trumpet, so doesn't warn the people of coming judgment, and the people are not warned, if the sword comes and takes away any person from among him, he is taken away in his own iniquity. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. At the watchman's hand. So you have a higher level of judgment when you face God if you know the truth of his judgment and you don't blow the trumpet. And that's what Ezekiel 33:3-9 teach us. If we know we have to blow the trumpet, we are called out as watchmen of God, watchmen of the end of the age. We have to do it. I don't think you would hesitate if you had evidence to go to your next door neighbor to say, you are going to die tomorrow night, as a parable. You know, I'm not saying this is happening tomorrow. If you follow my channel, you know the timeline. But in this parable, you go to your neighbor and say, you're going to die tomorrow night, and here's evidence of such. And here's 200 pages, say, for example, of evidence. And look at all this. But he's like, no, but this part, this sounds here like I might be okay. And you're like, yeah, but look at the context that specific wordage is in. You have to take this seriously. And they don't listen to you. Their blood is on their own head. That's up to them. It's our job to share the truth. And what Jesus taught us is that if our word is not received, to shake the dust off of our feet and keep going. Because it's then the person's job to decide. But we have done our job. But if we don't do our job, then their blood is also on our heads because they never had a chance to know the truth. And it's really that simple. And that's how the kingdom of God grows. That's how the kingdom of God, how God himself, Yahweh the Father, brings his family back together, like he's been working to do since Adam, since the fall of humanity, to bring his family back to him. And it's been a long 6,000-year process, but man, we are almost there. We just have to get through these steps of judgment. And then those of us in this age who are persecuted the way we will be, as I detail in this channel, by being beheaded for our witness to Jesus, to the beast system, we will get that millennial reign, that bonus 1,000-year age to learn from Jesus Christ every single day for 1,000 years.